What's going on, you sci-fi enthusiasts? Your two favorite wild rascals are back here, and we're excited to talk about Warner Brothers' latest big film that is released simultaneously on HBO Max and in theaters. One of our most anticipated films of the year. We're talking about Denis Villeneuve's Dune.
Or as we like to say here at Cinefellas, Denis Venezuela.
Denis Villeneuve.
How many times we've all
Danny
butchered,
Venezuela.
how many times we've butchered his name, but very excited for this film. Huge fan of the original film from 1984, directed by David Lynch. You know, we're all fans of Twin Peaks, so his work here. And that movie in 1984 on VHS, and it's very comic booky, but a good time, to say the least. Kyle MacLachlan as Paul Atreides is really great. You have Sting in the movie. Really great ensemble, but this is more of a more serious take on the source material based off the novel from Frank Herbert from 1965. We have Dune and a beautiful cinematography, beautifully crafted film from start to finish. This movie's a bit long, 2.5 hours, but you get the point. It really sets up a visual masterpiece. I have a feeling this is going to be an epic trilogy if they go that route. But this is really laying the groundwork, the foundation, and the story for these characters' introductions for people that aren't familiar with the source material, but Paul Atreides. We have young Timothy Chalamet playing Paul Atreides, a much younger version compared to the first film, but his father is Oscar Isaac and Duke Leto Atreides. And Duncan Idaho is played by Jason Momoa in this film. Rebecca Ferguson, Lady Jessica, is Paul's mom. No Paul. You have Gurney Halleck played by Josh Brolin, Thanos himself, and then Stilgar, Javier Bardem. So it's a stacked lineup, Hollywood A-listers in this film. But basically the setup, it's Paul Atreides. He's the noble son of his family. They're trying to protect the most valuable asset having to do with spice in this film that really is used for interstellar travel. It's a vital element in the galaxy.
So yeah, this film is taking place, over 10,000 years into the future. I think it said it was like 13,000 something in the beginning of the film. So this is taking place in a distant future here on some other planets. Denis Villeneuve, he's known for his other films, of course, with Prisoners, Enemy, and one of the most recent movies that he did. Obviously, he revisited the Blade Runner series and gave us Blade Runner 2049. So he's this well-established director, and he brings the sci-fi gravitas from the Blade Runner series over to Dune. So he's going to give us his vision for the Dune world, and this is our very first introduction to that. I knew very little about the story. I'd never read the novel, seen the movie, but it's been a long time. Didn't really remember too much of it. I know it's kind of a cult classic now, but I've been looking forward to this movie just based on the trailers, just based on the whole look of the film, the mythology behind it, and the A-list acting talent involved that he assembled for this movie. I have to say right away, I was very impressed with the cinematography. That's what you're going to notice right away. Along with that score, with the chanting, you're going to notice those two working simultaneously. And those two are honestly a big character of the film. They feel like a character within themselves. Just the scope of the film and the score working together. Even watching this at home, which I did, I would have liked to make it to the IMAX theater because this is definitely made for the IMAX screen. Another one of the Cinefellas, Kevin, got to see it on the big IMAX screen, and he said, you should definitely check this out on the biggest screen possible. It's obvious just watching it on my big screen TV that this was meant for the biggest possible screen. But even on there with the sound turned up, it was a great experience from start to finish. Just watching these beautiful worlds that they created and watching these A-list actors all interact together and seeing all the set pieces and all the costumes. It really, from the start, that you're watching a quality film, and the story gets going right away. So we have these factions, and they're all trying to get this spice. And like you mentioned, it controls interstellar travel. Obviously, this takes place in space. There's a lot of interstellar travel. So we have a lot of battling through these factions that we know. There's a certain faction that is, obviously very aligned with the desert. We have these factions all battling out for the spice. Baron Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, he's the biggest He's this big villain, this big blob of a dude. Looks very crazy up on screen. There's several scenes with him where he's just this big blobby looking guy dipped down in this black sort of goo, and he comes up, and it sort of sets the tone for the villain right away. He's this big dude, and he has all these members of his family that are, that fall in line under his lead. One of the actors, Dave Bautista, is one of the Harkonnens too. So there's a lot of chaos on this planet, and they're looking for somebody that can come along to control the spice and sort of, lead, be a leader, be a bigger leader than they've had in the past. And the Atreides family is tasked with, coming over and trying to lead peacefully and bringing everybody together, because it's been nothing but war and fighting over the spice for many years.
But basically, Duke Leto Atreides, which is Oscar Isaac's character, he's kind of tricked into taking over Arrakis, and that's when all this desert scenes are taking place. There's a lot of war, there's a lot of battles in this film. But Paul Atreides he's kind of looking at, he's the next Messiah. He's the one that's going to, take over if anything happens for his father, and he comes across his special powers having to do with his mom, played by Rebecca Ferguson. She's much like a psychic, but seeing if he really is the chosen one.
Right. So we know Paul Atreides has these powers, which, his mom, played by Rebecca Ferguson, is trying to harness. In the beginning, we know something, that he has something special, that he's the chosen one. He's having these visions all the time, and he's seeing this girl with these piercing blue eyes. So he knows there's something going on. He can sense that he's going to have to be involved somehow. So we know that Paul Atreides is special from the beginning. We don't know especially how at the beginning, but we get to see a lot of his training with Gurney there, played by Josh Brolin. We know that he's learning how to fight. We also see Duncan, played by our old good mate Khal Drago over there. Aloha, Jay.
Aloha, Jay.
Jason Momoa, he's back in this, and it was good to see him too. Him and Paul have a nice relationship in there. They trust each other, along with Gurney too, Josh Brolin. So they all work well, and they know that Paul is special too.
Yeah, this is just an all-star ensemble here of all actors and actresses. Zendaya wasn't in much of the film. She's more shows up in these dream sequences with Paul's character and finding out who she really is. I think her name was Chani, and she's a member of the indigenous Freeman population. They have these like breathing tube kind of things, and they're out in the desert, and piercing blue eyes. But she didn't really have a lot to do in this film, but I think it's really setting up her character and character arc for the second, maybe the third film, having a big part with this and having to do with Paul's character. But I thought she was really great.
She was really good. Yeah, Denis Villeneuve said that in the sequel, she's going to be the big focus of it. So we're going to see more of her as the story plays out. And luckily it had a huge box office weekend. We haven't got the numbers from HBO Max, but I assume that's going to be huge as well. So a sequel has all been inevitable. So we can all breathe easier now. We were hoping that was going to be the case. They were tracking it, and actually, it exceeded their expectations. So we are going to get the sequel. That's great news, because people were scared. Denis Villeneuve didn't like the idea of it going on HBO Max at the same time as the theaters. But it seems that in this case, all is well. He's going to get to, oversee the next, at least sequel. It's probably going to be a trilogy, like you mentioned. It'll be nice to follow these characters and follow this mythology. Really, it's very complicated, but just watching it for the first time, you can put the pieces together. I'm going to need to watch this film several times to fully understand it, and I plan to read the novel now. It really brings you into the story, and you want to know more about the big sandworm on the planet. I thought that was really, really well done, how they did that. It reminded me of Tremors, this big giant sandworm. Also, The Mandalorian, when they did that with the big sandworm too. Remind me of that. Beetlejuice as well. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. It looks like a big asshole, like a shark in the water, but a big
sandworm at the end.
It comes out like a big asshole.
Yeah.
But the effects side, that looked visually stunning. I was blown away by the effects in this film, the cinematography, like you were saying earlier. But it was just a beautiful movie. I knew I was going to come in for a visual masterpiece, and that's what we got with this film. This is more the overall setting. It's kind of a character in this film, kind of forming the story, these characters that you may not be familiar with, and getting to know them, laying the foundation and groundwork here for the rest of the saga. So I think it's going to get pretty epic, but this is a film really setting up things.
And this is definitely going to get award seasons nominations. It's bound for that, especially special effects, acting, pretty much all the categories. I mean, it really knocks it out of the park out as far as science fiction goes, with the effects, the score, cinematography by Greg Fraser. It was originally supposed to be Roger Deakins, which would have been amazing too, but Greg Fraser really stepped up here, I thought, and did a great job just building this vast landscape with these desert, this desert planet, and doing the interstellar travel up on the screen and portraying that. I really want to see this movie on IMAX. It's larger than life. It's bigger than any screen you're going to be able to see it on at home. So definitely recommend seeing it on the big screen. I'd like to revisit it, but I had a great time with this film from beginning to end. It's 2.5 hours, and really it flew by. I watched it in a few different segments, but I could have sat there the whole time for 2.5 hours. It never let up, really. There's a lot of action in it, a lot of good dialogue too, where you're learning more about these characters, about the villain. It does a good job of really setting up the sequel. It kind of, leaves off at the end with you wanting more. Obviously, the story isn't done, but just a great film, I thought.
Yeah, it's one of my most anticipated films of the year, and it blew me away. I knew this was going to be visually stunning. It's going to be a masterpiece on all different levels, and absolutely is. Love the ensemble, the actors in this movie. Not too familiar with Timothée Chalamet, but I thought he did a really great job as Paul. Oscar Isaac, also not a huge fan of, but I thought he did good in his role. And Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, Jason Momoa, Rebecca Ferguson, and they're all really fantastic. I'm really excited to see where this film goes in the next chapter, hopefully coming out here in the next few years. And it was just really blown away by this. A pretty perfect movie for me across the board, directing, cinematography, everything. Score, Hans Zimmer, really impactful, very pounding at times. You could really feel it in the movie. And overall, just a beautiful movie. So highly recommend this. Watch this on HBO Max or check it out in the movie theater. It's currently streaming on HBO Max. So that being said, I'm giving Denis Villeneuve's Dune, that just hit theaters and HBO Max, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. Javier Bardem hair pieces.
Denis Villeneuve really hit this one out of the park. Yeah. Great job. He really established himself as a director to be reckoned with moving forward. As he oversees this Dune trilogy. Hopefully we get to see 2 more films, because I want to see as much of this as possible. Timothée Chalamet is the lead. Really impressed me. He did a great job. I'd seen a couple films with him, and he wasn't the main star, but you could tell he's an up and coming actor who's going to have a lot of great roles in the future. Yeah. So he really did a great job, sort of leading the film. Rebecca Ferguson as his mom did a great job. Oscar Isaac, Javier Bardem. There wasn't a weak character in the film. I thought, everybody did a really great job. Zendaya, she didn't have much to do. She was just in his visions a lot. They finally meet up at the end. I look forward to seeing what she's going to bring in the next one, especially. But yeah, just loved it. Cinematography wise, just the look of it alone is worth a high score there. Everything came together. I too am going to give Dune a 4.5 out of 5 Denis Villeneuve hair pieces. Thank you, boys, for coming to see my movie.
Well, piss off you didn't go see it in theater, watch it at home.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
I have a 75-inch TV in the basement in the theater here, so
yeah.
I got the point. But yeah, I'm still gonna go check it out in the theater. It's a movie worth the ticket price just to see it
for sure
in its entirety, with the music and visually the way it looks. So
you know what? Hopefully, when they release the second one, and if there's going to be a third one, they'll show them all at the same time on IMAX. I'd go see that. Go see a marathon of all 3 or all 2. How many ever they're going to make.
What Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter did for fantasy, this is what it's going to do for sci-fi. This is going to be the new trilogy that's going to be hitting the box office, breaking records, and really setting up a fucking masterpiece and epicness of sci-fi adventure, the new wave of Star Wars and what Star Wars should have been.
Yeah, I look forward to learning more about the spice, because I need some herbs and spices so I can feel nices. What is this spice? Interstellar travel, but there's got to be more. What does Baron Harkin want with it, and why is he so fat? Find out next, boys.
It's one of the best sci-fi flicks of the year for sure. One of our most anticipated films. We're blown away by this. really had a great time with this and want to revisit this because there's so much that's thrown at you in the 2.5 hours. It's hard to comprehend everything, but it's a movie you want to revisit. But we're interested in hearing what you guys think of the brand new film Dune. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What did you guys like about the novel or the first film? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit
Subscribe.
Yeah, also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and right here on our YouTube channel. All month long, we're doing 31 days of horror, lots of horror movie reviews, TV, and movies, and having a great time doing it. So check us out.
It's Halloween season. It's almost Halloween. We're in the week of Halloween here. We have some great videos to come this week, and we look forward to having a nice special treat for you on Halloween night. So stay tuned, you trick-or-treaters. You're going to get a treat.
So this is me and Uncle Javier Bardem and Jason Momoa. Aloha, Jay. Signing out until the next movie review for Cinephellas. Until next time.
Denis Villeneuve. Cheers.